feel like I'm being made out to be a bit of a timekeeping ogre today, but I guess I'll live with that. I'm really thrilled now to welcome our keynote speaker for the day, Saara Sabbagh. Saara has been active in the field of youth and community work in Melbourne for over 25 years. She's a cross-cultural educator, consultant and public speaker. She studied in Syria under female scholars and is a lecturer on ethics and spirituality in the modern world. Saara is also the founding director of Benevolence Australia, which we've enjoyed a wonderful partnership with over the past 2 years. We're thrilled to have her here today and to have enjoyed the great and close partnership we've had over the past couple of years. So thank you so much, Saara, for being with us.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate, I greet you with the universal greeting of peace. A greeting used by all the prophets, from Adam to Abraham to Jesus to Muhammad. So peace and blessings be upon you all this afternoon. And thank you so much, Alex, for the invitation, and congratulations to all the graduates. I want to start off by saying that I didn't think I was going to make it here today. The reason I say that is because last week I gave Alex a call and I said to him, "Are you sure you want me to be your guest speaker?" And he was perplexed. It was first thing in the morning. He was perplexed. He's like, what makes you ask that question? I was having a bad morning, and I just, with all the things that have been happening globally, and I just said to him, well, you know, given the current climate of the world, are you really sure you want a Muslim woman speaking at your event? And he reminded me, it's a social inclusion program. Of course I do. But the truth is, there was a background to the reason I called him. You see, the day before, and I'd like to share this with you, the day before, as I was working away at my office at Benny House, I received a phone call from a lady who I don't know, a random lady. And she went into a monologue for the next 15 to 20 minutes, telling me her disdain for my religion and how much she hated Muslim women in particular. And then she went on to say how much she hated the headscarf and how much she thought every time she saw a woman in a headscarf, how that made her day just completely ruined. And it ticked her buttons, pushed her buttons, and she said she was an educated woman and she has friends from all cultures and she's ethnic herself, ironically enough. And but then she went on to say, why would you choose to do that? Don't explain to me why you would choose it. No matter what you say to me, I will reject it. Because that makes it worse. As an Australian woman, choosing to take yourself into the dark age is something I cannot begin to understand. I kept listening and listening, and it got worse when she said, I'd like to make an appointment to see you. I thought, what for? So we can have a face-to-face barrage? She said, I really need you to understand how you disturb me. So I've made an appointment. But to be honest with you, it was that phone call that shook me to my core. After hearing everything that we've been hearing in the media, it was that phone call that shook me to my core. Because it followed 2 weeks before that, and Year 9 student looked at me when I was doing a mosque tour and said to me with fear in her eyes, I'm scared of you. And I said to her, why are you scared of me? She said, I don't want your people to bomb my school. And then I realized, all of this coming together, this fear is real. Like, people are really afraid of me. And then the question began, how did we get here? Like, how did we get to this place where people are afraid of one another? I remember being a student myself, a Year 9 student, and that's when I began wearing the headscarf. And I remember, out of my own volition, can I just sort of say that? I remember just being called tea towel head at school. Right? And I remember the local boys' high school just called me tea towel head. That's as bad as it got. I remember getting on a tram when I was 18 and I came to pay the tram driver and he thought I was a nun. So he said, sister, please, you don't pay, sit down. Like, okay, I'll take that one. There aren't many freebies being a Muslim in today's world, so I took that one. So how did we get to that, to being called a terrorist, and now to someone actually looking me in the eye and saying, I am scared of you. If I look back, I realize that this isn't anything new. This has been something that has been culminating for a very long time. Even pre the Gulf War, we see that this narrative has been culminating, right? Because we need to recognize that the number one threat to the world apparently today is terrorism, which really means Islam, right? And so I thought about it as what we've created, as Walid says, an us and them culture. And we just haven't done that with the Muslims. We do that with everybody that's the other, don't we? But it's not something that you just wake up and you realize. It's something that takes a while. So for Muslims, for example, when I thought about it, I thought it started a very, very long time ago when Hollywood had a fascination, always has. Once it used to be the Russians, then it went on to the Muslims. And I remembered the Aladdin song. I know you're thinking this is trivial, but something so small. I remember the theme song of Aladdin where it says, oh, I come from a land far away, a faraway place where the caravan camels roam, where they cut off your ears if they don't like your face. It's barbaric, but hey, it's home. And then you might think, well, that's just a cartoon. Well, the most modern version of that is, of course, Homeland. I don't know if anyone sees the TV series Homeland. By the way, it's President Obama's favorite TV series. Ironically enough, all the villains happen to be Muslims that are trying to take over America, right? Now, this is a narrative that's been going on for 20-odd years till we get to where we are today. But like I said, it happens with other people. We do it to the boat people, we do it to refugees. When we started once upon a time saying, how could anybody in their right mind put their children and family on a leaking boat? What kind of individuals are they? Then we went on to now, the latest conversation is, or the narrative is, do we really want to let terrorists into our own home? So now if you get refugees in that light, we do it to the indigenous people, right? They really don't want help. We do it to people of skin color, right? We perpetuate this narrative. And what is this narrative? It's the us and them narrative, right? It makes the us and them, there's no us and them. I believe the greatest lie we were ever sold is the fact that we are separate. I believe that is the greatest lie we were sold. The fact that you and I are separate, that you and I are different from one another. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in creationism, whether you believe in anything, I don't believe we're separate. I believe as human beings, we are all interconnected. Energetically, emotionally, spiritually, we are all connected. So what happens in New York affects me here in Melbourne. What happens in Zimbabwe affects someone else in Japan, right? So the idea of someone being left alone and leave me to do whatever I choose to do, harming, whatever it might be, that doesn't sit well in the Muslim mindset. Because we have a saying that says, humanity is like one body. If one part aches, the rest feels it. So think about having a paper cut, something so tiny as a paper cut. You can't function for the rest of the day, can you? Or think about having something so tiny like an eyelash in your eye or a speck of dust. The whole day you're not functioning well. Humanity is like one body. When one part is in pain, the rest of the body feels it. Are we really like that right now? Or is everyone just closing their door and saying, well, it doesn't concern me? Well, I'm here to say it does concern us. Right? But it's interesting how we view different people with different levels of concern. If we look at just what has happened recently, when we had 3 tragedies in the space of 10 days, supposedly by the same group of people, ISIS attacked Beirut, they attacked Paris, and they attacked Mali. What's interesting is, did we flinch an eye when it was to Beirut? Oh, Beirut, isn't that the Middle East where there's always violence? I'm sure they'll get over it. Mali, isn't that Africa? We didn't even know what the flag looks like to change our Facebook flag to that, right? There's always things happening there. The only one we sat up and we listened to was a situation that we could relate to ourselves. It was no longer an us and them, it was an we. Because we can understand what it's like to be in a cafe on Friday night, or at the soccer or football, or at a rock concert. We don't know what it's like to be in Beirut or to be in Mali, right? That's not us. If we were to be really honest, if we are concerned about this particular topic, Boko Haram has killed far more people than ISIS could ever in Nigeria. But hey, it's just Nigeria. Isn't it those dark people yet again? That's not us, so we don't have to worry too much. This is real. The more we create an us and them, the more we become desensitized to the feelings and the reality of what's happening on the ground as a whole. And the more we start thinking that we are actually superior to others. And this is what I believe the phone call that I received was all about. That she was going to tell me, your way of life is so backward. She told me her profession, very educated woman, and she was going to come and tell it to me as she thought was right. Because she was from a superior tradition. That in itself is problematic. But I asked, what has happened to our humanity? What has happened to get us here? What has happened when we now read, and we are in this 2 weeks, we are reading about the amount of women that are at the receiving end of family violence. We know in Australia, at least 2 women a week die as a result of family violence in this wonderful country of ours. Why is in the world an uproar about that? Why aren't we putting millions and millions and millions of dollars into that, right? Why is it not concerning? It's because the female gender is not in equal to the male gender. We're still there. We know that the World Health Organization describes the levels of violence experienced by the world's women as a whole, and they say this, as a global public health problem of epidemic proportions, requiring urgent action. I don't see the urgent action. How is it that in this land where we call it, as we say in our national anthem, plenty of land for all to share, we openly say, no, we close the doors to our refugees? Why aren't we up in arms about that? My question is, what has happened to our humanity? How did we get here? The Quranic narrative says we have ennobled the children of Adam, that human beings are noble people. We have intellect, we have emotions, we are noble people. We have rationale, we have empathy, we have love. We were created in love. What has happened to our love and our compassion for one another? At this point, you're probably, like many of us, probably feeling, well, I'm overwhelmed. That's what's happened. There's just too much to deal with, right? You put on I've basically switched off social media because I can't deal with the level of pain that exists in the world. That doesn't mean I don't feel it, even though I don't have social media at the moment. I know I wake up, and I don't have a TV, right? So my media is radio and paper. But I wake up every morning and I feel the pain. I just feel something's not right in my core. I'm a sensitive person. And I do my meditations in the morning, and as I pray for the world in the morning, I feel that something's not right. And I cringe every morning as I open the paper to see yet again another catastrophe, right? So we're probably just feeling overwhelmed. It's not that we don't care, because I believe innately humans are compassionate. Innately, we are innately good. That's what I believe. And I do not believe that evil is part of our innate makeup. That's not part of our innate makeup. We innately incline to goodness and compassion and to love and to mercy. I strongly believe that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing still after all these years. I innately believe that. And I'll round off my conversation by saying the Quranic narrative doesn't actually speak about problems and solutions, which is a really interesting point. The Quranic narrative speaks about illness, disease, and cures. Now, why is this important to what I'm saying? Because when you think of a problem, you think there's only one solution, and there it is, and take the pill, it's all done. That doesn't happen that way. When we look at things as illnesses and diseases, and we're talking about not just physical diseases, we're talking about ideological illnesses. If you think about half the problems that are in the world today, they're ideological diseases. They're illnesses that are affecting other people. They're becoming like a plague that are affecting other people's mindsets. Like disease of the body, it doesn't happen overnight. Disease takes time. Illness takes time for it to come into the body. And the cure, the problem with our Western society, is we expect a Band-Aid solution. We take a Panadol, we stop the pain, but we haven't really cured the pain. The holistic approach to curing the pain is as long as it took to get here, it's as long as it takes to get rid of it again. But it needs a concerted, unified effort on all fronts. You need to tackle the mind, body, and spirit. The pain that we are in the world today, and I'm sure you would agree, we are in pain, we are in illness on a multitude of levels. Physically, we have disease rising, obesity rising, every type of illness rising, cancer rising, everything rising. The planet is in pain. We have ideological diseases and illnesses that are taking our youth, right? We have mental health challenges. We have a lot of diseases, illnesses on a multitude of levels. What is the solution? The Quranic narrative offers a solution that as long as the solution takes as long as it took to get here. And it needs to be a holistic approach. It cannot be one. We cannot bomb our way into peace, for example. Right? We cannot do that. It needs a community approach. And the first approach is to recognize that we are in this together. This is not an us and them. For any of the issues that we are facing, be it sexism, be it racism, be it religious superiority, whatever it might be, this is about all of us in it together. As soon as we start thinking this is not my problem, then we've let go of creating a holistic solution. I have spent the past 15 years, since 9/11, speaking on and defending rather my faith, apologizing for the idiots that represent it, and explaining every aspect of my life. To why do I wear a headscarf? What kind of food do I eat? How do I sleep? What kind of drinks do I drink? Do I play basketball? Every question under the sun, you name it, I've been asked. And I spent the past 15 years doing that. I haven't enjoyed 1 minute of it. I finally realized this is not what I'm passionate about. What I'm really passionate about, I'm passionate about social justice. I'm passionate about equality. I'm passionate about Indigenous rights. I'm passionate about our humanity. I'm not passionate about my headscarf. I'm really not. I know it looks like I am. I'm not. I'm passionate about what makes us human. I'm going to ask you this question. Hands up if you two are passionate about Indigenous rights. Keep your hands up if you're passionate about gender equality. Keep your hand up if you're passionate about the plight of refugees on our land. Keep your hand up if you're concerned about the rise of housing prices for the future generation. I still am. I got 3 kids that need to buy a house. Hands down. This is a glimpse of our shared humanity. That's what brings us together. That's what makes us human. We all have the same concern. Right now, we have been sold a lie. Right now, we have been told and sold that we need to live in fear. Just yesterday, more money has been pumped into anti-terrorism. Right? Not working on the grassroots with actual people that disenfranchised. No, let's just put more security. Right? Because we think that is the solution. And we've lost our voice telling government, that is not the solution. Talk to young people. Talk to us. Create jobs. That is the solution. This is our shared humanity. And what I'm optimistic about is that this voice is rising. As much as the reclaimed voice is rising, this voice is louder. Your voice and my voice is actually far more louder than that voice. We just don't speak up. It's time that we do. There are so many movements that are out there be it the slow food movement as opposed to the fast food movement, be it the minimalist movement that is moving away from over-consuming and reducing consumption, the anti-slavery movement, the gender equality movements, they're all there. My question to you, and I'd like to pose to you, is either join one, anything that you're passionate about, or create one. You know what I did? I just created one. Right? But we can either join one or create one. Every movement began with one person. Malcolm X, one person whose legacy still lives on till today. Martin Luther King, one person. One person. Do not be influenced by this rhetoric. We can make a difference. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much.